Hey Rage, hey Pseudo, hey Board, hey Lurkers, how's everybody's weekend so far?
Hello.
Oh wow! It's been a weekend.
Excellent. You ready to talk about video games?
I am
Excellent.
ready to talk about video games.
Excellent. Are you ever not ready to talk about video games?
Hi.
Only very rarely.
Welcome, Mom.
Hi. That's my mom.
All right. Demon Souls. I chopped it up a little bit, and now I've saved this window so I can swap back and forth between them. You are in need of weed indeed. Well, a friend in need is a friend indeed. I've got some weed. I hear the clickety-clackety, and now I'm all like, what is this? Gotta
Just
see
clicking and
what
clacking.
pops up. Demon Souls. Have you had a chance to play the new Demon Souls on PS5 yet, Dank? Has anybody else in chat actually played it yet? Or is it mostly just coming to hear our opinions? You haven't actually played it yet either, have you, Rage?
I haven't. I am very familiar with the original game, and I have watched several playthroughs of the new version, though.
Might need to borrow a PS5 for a couple days or something.
I mean, or I can just wait. I'm actually not in a rush. I have played Demon Souls before.
You're not interested
get
to
one
feel the
eventually.
difference?
Oh, I definitely am. I'm just not struggling to get a PS5 in 2021 interested.
Yeah, it's still not easy. It's not easy. I'm still running the bot trying to get a second one, and I haven't yet. So, that's a thing. That happens. I do still have the PS3. I got a PS3, a PS4 Pro, and a PS5.
Seen a 1 and a 2. You got the whole collection.
I guess I could pick them up. They're pretty cheap now, aren't they?
I think the ones are going back up in price now. They're hitting that age where now they're
that
kind of-
nostalgia age.
I don't
and they're a bit rarer.
I don't feel a huge need because I can just emulate.
Well, you can play them on PS5. I think plays because PS5 emulates as well.
That's true.
It
That's
takes
true.
up space.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm good with space management, memory management. We can work something out. I've got enough media storage around the house. I bet you I can export them off of there into a backup or something.
Yeah, I mean physical space. Like I have a bunch of the older consoles, and they just start taking up a bunch of room. Especially the original Xbox. I think was huge. Like, what
Yeah, the
hell do I put
brick.
you? It's just massive.
Did a recent single sitting run with an old friend. We usually mark it with the Northern Regalia as a finish for a fun run. Right on.
Northern Regalia is silly. Deus doesn't know what that is.
I have no idea what they're talking about, but Rage knows what's up, so that's good. That's why there's three of us, because there's a lot of games out there, and we can't all play all of them.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that you're in the crowd that this was their first experience of Demon Souls. You never got to play it back on the PS3 and experience the pain of the like multi-minute loading times every time you have to go back to the Nexus.
Oh god. Flashbacks to like playing Morrowind and Oblivion on like consoles. And just hear the disc spinning. Okay, I'll go get a snack.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mr.
go,
Lowe.
go make a sandwich. Come back
Yep.
later.
I mean, I experienced it on the PlayStation 1. I finished Diablo on the PlayStation 1 in one sitting in 2-player. And it was like, finish a map while yelling at each other to try to move the screen forward and stuff like this, because you're both on the same screen. Which there were some deaths from that. We had to learn how to work together and manage the screen and the monsters at the same time. And then every time you go to a new area, we would literally like get up and go make a drink and come back and sing the little song that we had written about loading time while it finished the level. we had enough time to come up with a song and sing it multiple times. The unpatched 2009 Day 1 lock-in is the worst lock-on of any game you've ever played.
Yeah, I assume you're talking about the unpatched Demon Souls lock-on. Yeah, that was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I wouldn't say the worst, because I've played some truly horrific, like 3D action games on consoles, but it was pretty bad.
I've got the worst that I've seen for you. I know it. It was a Terminator game where it takes place in the future, and you're kind of like walking down corridors with explosive barrels and stuff and fighting Terminators, and the lock-on would constantly go from the Terminator you're fighting to the explosive barrel at your feet while you're firing and just kill you.
Yeah, that's very similar to unpatched Demon Souls.
That's bad. Yeah, that's bad. I saw it actually do that 5 or 6 times in like a few hours playthrough for Cartube. Poor guy. The barrel is the closest enemy. I don't see the problem here. Hey, Glencon, welcome. Exaggerating a bit, but it was awful. I'm okay with exaggerations. Exaggeration. It's just a hyperbole. Call it a hyperbole, and then everyone just thinks you're artistic, right?
Yeah. With bigger words, worth more money.
All right. World building in Demon Souls PS5. Now, let's agree from the beginning that we're not going to remove any marks from the PS5 remake for being a remake of the original. It says remake in its name. If it has the same world building and it's really good, it's still really good, because when you play the game, it'll be really good.
Unless they changed things. If they change things, then I can see the score deviating. But Demon's Souls is actually extremely faithful to the original.
I could tell how faithful it was with the AI to the original when I fought Maneater. Spoiler, there will be spoilers. Okay? This is not a spoiler-free review, and I'm sorry for it. We'll keep it story spoiler-free.
Yeah, for the most part, as much as we can.
Yeah.
World building. I would like you to go first on this one, Deus. I want to know what you think before I start in on it.
The separation of the Nexus, the way it is broken up into levels, takes a little away from it, but the size and depth and design of the levels themselves, I think, is good enough to call it a good. You get a really vivid view and interpretation of each individual area. They're very different, unique areas. If you look at a picture of one, you know where it is. For the most part, I think there's a few areas that have a castle part, and if you don't get enemies and just a piece of castle, you might not be able to tell. But that's just the game. You need castles.
So with the with your sort of qualifier there that it is hub and spoke design, and it very much is, like the Nexus is the Nexus. Where do you sit on the sort of peripheral information that's given to you through cutscenes and dialogue in order to tie those pieces together? Like, do you think that that's good enough?
I understood. Granted, it's the last Souls game I've not played, right? And I've done a lot of research into lore in other games, and I've done lore hunts based on my research to try to see pieces. So I do kind of understand how to get information and where to look and how to piece things together, generally how Hidetaka's brain works, because he's a strange guy and his brain works kind of differently than everyone else. You can see it in his games. They're their own beast entirely. But I was able to put together at least what happened generally and what's going on to a vague extent. I could understand what's going on from an outsider's experience and view of the place, which is kind of what they wanted you to get, I think, because you are an outsider sucked in. But I didn't delve deep enough to get the view of what's happening internally. And I know it's in there. I know it's in there.
Yeah, you did miss a lot of characters. But that is Souls games. That's how they work the first time you play them.
Yep. You don't expect to find everything. And I could have taken my time and like every time I killed a boss, gone through every bit of space and area I've ever been to before to see if anything's changed and push right up to all the bosses and look through everything and find everything in the game. But it would have taken me eons. That's not how I like to play the game the first time. I may go back and play it again. I have a long backlog of stuff I want to play again, but it might happen. But I'm still in the world of good because each world was so deep and interesting. And if you do like depth and world building and you know lore worth searching for within the world, it is all there. And it is absolutely worth playing. And I think you'd be missing out if you love world building and didn't play this game.
Yeah, like I said, with From Games, it's kind of one of those things where it's a bit of a different medium for exposing a world and kind of how it's shown to the players. The one thing that always kind of boils down to me for if it's good world building or not is, what would I change to make it better? And it's not so much that it's bad, it's just that like depending on people's play style, it may vary. And that's kind of the whole point of what they're going for is to not put everyone into the same path and put everyone into the same play style and force them to, understand the story. It's kind of there for the people who want to dive into it and kind of pay a bit more attention to what's going on. And the unfortunate side of things, if people run through, they can miss stuff. But it's one of those things where like, is it really? I can't think of anything they could really do rather than putting in constraints, which would kind of defeat the whole point of what they were doing. So it's a bit hard for me to say that it's bad or even just like on the okay side, because it's really good what they have there. It's just I don't know if they could really improve the way that it gets delivered at all, because it's very it's intentional the way that they have it laid out. This is consistent with most of the Soul series.
Yeah, everything doesn't just fit the mechanic, but it also fits the story. Everything's in it for a reason. Actually, he will sacrifice everything for the sake of story fitting.
Everything except gameplay. But the reason I wanted you guys to go first on this one is because I do have some pretty strong opinions on Demon Souls' story, and I do think it is really, really excellent. It's presented much in the same vein as Dark Souls, where you need to go looking for it. You have to want the world building, you have to want the story, you have to want to dig into all of these different characters, these different places, item descriptions, thinking about where items are found, etc., etc. And I think that is something that Miyazaki has shown in all of the Souls games. And it did, and like this was basically the first version of it, and it's still kick-ass.
You can instantly see why it became a classic when you play it.
Yeah.
The world building is very good. Each spoke is unique and original and big enough to be a small game in itself. Thoroughly enjoyed them. So we're all okay with giving it a good on world building then?
Yep.
Okay. I thought so. Just making sure though. Characters. I liked I liked the couple that I saw. But you're not guaranteed to see many.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I think that doesn't derive from the characters themselves, at least.
No, not at all. And I'm sure there are many more than I saw, because even, Dark Souls playthrough, I missed a lot of interactions with characters, and Bloodborne playthrough, I missed a lot of interactions with characters. Dark Souls 2 playthrough, I missed a lot of interactions with characters, and I haven't looked into Dark Souls 3, but I'm sure I missed many interactions with characters. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, the characters that you missed are honestly some of my favorites.
No.
They have very intertwined stories, and it's intertwined with how the character progresses through the world. Different things can happen. You need to complete certain objectives in order for characters to progress through their story arc. They all have very distinct personalities, even the ones that are basically throwaway. Ooh, what characters did you meet in the Nexus?
The blacksmith, the storage guy, some girl, warrior lady that I don't remember anything about. There was three other people that were just there to talk to me in the Nexus.
The
one on the second
girl
floor.
The girl that you don't remember anything about, the one that isn't the Maiden in Black, actually leads into a whole other character's quest line and has some stat requirements to get started, I believe. Very cool stuff going on in there. And even through that one quest line, there are 2 or 3 different characters that are involved, and they all like have a central theme to them, but are not the same character. It's just really, really well done.
Right on. Yeah, I was prepared for an answer like this because I have always liked Hidetaka's characters. They're thought out. They're never so shallow and one-dimensional that they don't make sense. They always at least have their own desires and drives and reasons for being and emotions, and they're a complete entity, typically in his games. Do you have anything you want to add, Sudo?
No, that basically covers it. They're all very intentional. There's, I don't know, from what I saw through the playthrough, like there's not really too much fluff wise. There's always going to be kind of meaning behind them and the design behind them and just the characters themselves. Like there's nothing, they were consistent. Nothing really stood out unless it was, supposed to, kind of, if that makes sense. Like it's
something patches.
Yeah.
That mother. Storyline. So what I got out of the storyline, I enjoyed a lot. Obviously, the presentation, as always, is the typical mysterious from self that I'm a sucker for and always have been and always will be. I love that stuff. But I just felt like there was enough there to give me a bit of a drive and a reason to go forward. Kind of clearing the land of the fog, and yeah. It was a very video game story, but it was a good one. I liked it. And I want to know more. I haven't had a time to research the lore yet.
Gotta go watch Vadi's videos.
It's a good overview, if nothing else. Absolutely. Sudo, what did you think of the story from your perspective? How much of it did you get to see? Did you get to see the opening video and everything?
I got to see the opening and then a bit of the middle and then a bit of the end. I've researched it a little bit. And like I said, when you said a little bit of video gaming, like I can understand that as well. But the overall, like it served a purpose. Like I didn't experience enough of it to really give a full rating. So I'm going to kind of defer to you guys on that.
Yeah. I just wanted to know your experience.
It made sense. It gave purpose to a lot of stuff. It wasn't intrusive. It didn't, cause any kind of immersion breaking, any kind of like, well, this is just plain silly kind of ideal. Like to kind of refer to, wow, I can't remember the name. The game with the silly hair physics that we played.
Heavenly Sword.
Yeah, because like the story in that game was kind of a bit jarring. and kind of over the place, and didn't make a whole. Even when the parts that did make sense, they just weren't presented well, and you're kind of like, okay, this is going to be a bit cliche. And we got Big Bad, whose name is pretty much borderline on just evil. It's kind of like my baseline of like not a great story. But this one, you can tell it's a lot of effort and thought was put into it, and what was going to go through.
Just to clarify, when I said video gamey story, that's not a negative thing when you're writing a story for a video game. It's not. It turns out video gamey stories are kind of great for video games. That's why they're gamey stories.
Yeah, it's super hard to translate mediums between the two, and that's why we always see when people make games based off movies. It's like, well, this is so weird. And it's like, well, yeah, because in a game, the player determines the pace. You can't have an action sequence if your player just decides to stand for like 5 or 10 minutes. You kind of, or same with just pacing and like interactions and choicing and stuff like that. It's just a completely different beast than writing, either like a movie or writing like a book.
Yeah, entirely agree. Ridge, your summation on our summations?
Demon's Souls, I think, probably has the weakest story of the Souls games.
I wouldn't disagree there.
That isn't to say that it's bad. It is still a pretty solid story. I have a hard time being objective, specifically with the Souls series, because I do love them so much. But I would say the storyline in Demon's Souls is a little bit more simplistic, a little bit more straightforward than in the other games. And in my eyes, suffers a little bit for it. But at the same time, the way that the characters interact with the main player, the player character, I should say, keeps it very interesting. It allows you a good deal of a feeling of agency within a video game, which is very important, while still keeping you sort of on the path of completing the story that was set out for you by the game. And I'm sort of like torn between a high okay and a good.
I can understand being torn there. I kind of see it as, if there was a rank above good, we would give it to those, but this is still solidly in the good range.
I was wondering if the story is like a main takeaway from the game experience, or if it was just serviceable for the other stronger areas and aspects of it.
Some of them did. Some of them did. Some of them were literally just, it's a sword and it's straight.
Yeah. But like,
which is fine. But any item that had like some meaning behind it, like a specific crest on the shield or anything, then they would have like a little bit of a tidbit about it, and then you would probably be able to infer farther based on where you found it and what you found it on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with a good for storyline. Like I said, I was very much on the fence between the two.
Yeah.
It's just not as excellent as other stories we have seen.
Yeah, no, those ones are software. Gooder. This one's still good. We don't have a gooder rank though, so they just went under the good category. But I mean, because if we were to say everything not as good as Dark Souls and Bloodborne can't be called a good story, then
there just wouldn't be any others.
There would not be like a lot of others.
Chrono Trigger. There'd be like Super Mario RPG. 6, yes.
Maybe 4.
I love 8. I know it's not a good story, but
no,
I love it.
No, it's not a good story. It's a super fun
trashy
game.
Soap opera, and I love it.
I mean, Cosmic Space Queen.
Trashy soap opera. It's great. Yeah, that's one of those games that I love for all the wrong reasons.
It's Offspring. but it is still solid enough to be enjoyed and good enough to seek out. I mean, okay, right there. If the story is good enough to make you want to go and hunt down and find the rest of it, it's good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Performance. Yeah.
Well, they fixed all of Area 5.
I don't know if I spelt that right now. I don't think I did.
I'm excited for more PS5 games if they ever actually release. Because I think right now it's just Demon Souls is, I think, the only real exclusive for PS5.
Yeah, I think so. The animations.
It is also gorgeous after you boot it. It is a beautiful, beautiful game.
Yeah, no, it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Absolutely. Not entirely sure Miyazaki applied his full approach to storytelling in lore yet either, since he mentioned there were a lot of things he kept secret that higher-ups tried to cut and put them into Dark Souls 1.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually, because Demon Souls was just so out in left field compared to other action RPGs at the time.
But that's also him. He had a different sort of upbringing with games and everything too, right? He wasn't allowed to own video games. He played them at friends' house and stuff, but it's not the same. It's just a little taste here and there. Not surprised, it looks so good. Bluepoint also did Shadows of the Colossus remaster, which looked amazing too. Yeah, Bluepoint does great remasters, and I think they chose a fantastic company to remaster that game, and I think the final product shows that they really, really did choose a fantastic company to do it. Animations, they were awesome, but honestly, I think like the backstab animations and stuff were just way too long. I loved the brutality of it, but after doing them for a while, I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the first 3 times you do a backstab or a parry, you're like, oh yeah, and then you realize you can just like do those whenever. And it stops being so cool because they're really long.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of iframes, but
I was wondering if that's more of like a mechanic for a long backstab, or is it more on just we would have preferred more shorter backstab animations?
They weren't that long in the original.
They could have been half that long and been much better. I love the Savage and Overkill, but you can be Savage and Overkill and be quick.
They've proved this in Doom Eternal.
Fair. Efficient. Most efficient.
Also, I have to say the fact that they left in the parry running attack bug is just my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too. The camera view being locked during it. It just locks all control. Welcome, Stuck.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much it's like was mechanics based rather than the actual like aesthetic and quality of the animations themselves.
Either way, it was a bad mechanic and a bad. I guess yeah, we could go and put it under mechanics. You're right.
Because like the animations themselves seemed pretty solid.
The animation itself was fucking great. It was. It was just, but it was too long.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more in like the mechanic sense than the actual quality animation, because it doesn't make the quality animation better, it just makes the quality of the backstab mechanic better.
So then do we want to talk about stuff like weapon swing animations, casting animations, stuff like that?
Yep.
Because Deus, you didn't get a chance to experience much, if any, magic?
No, I didn't play with any magic.
The animations kind of suck.
Okay. Are they quick?
And like they are quick.
That's quick, the key in that game.
It's just kind of a like
you like punch the spells out?
Like
yeah, except with a catalyst in your hand. So it's
good old
it's not
Skyrim.
Not very good.
Oblivion, just hands out, Go Gadget Fireball.
Funny thing that the Hornet Ring brings back a lot of the Demon Souls crit animations in one. Oh, interesting. Praise the Sun exists in Demon Souls with Ring of Devout Prayer and Wrath of the Gods.
Oh, do you actually get the praise animation with that?
Interesting.
Isn't the default cast like downward fists?
Interesting.
Hey, Dank can correct me because they get bonus points for Praise the Sun, even though it doesn't make any sense to be in that game.
There's a sun, right? Doesn't need to be that one, but as long as there's a sun, right?
Oh, I mean, even if they don't give it the reference of Praise the Sun, the motion isn't unheard of in casting. I'm fine with them using it.
Praise the Umbasa. Umbasa.
I'd be fine with that as a cast animation too. That'd probably be better than just ha! Ha! Yeah, not great. But I do like the roll animation.
Yeah, the roll animations are nice, especially the overburdened roll. I believe it is in Demon Souls. That's just like.
Father Gascoigne has cut dialogue where he says Umbasa. Interesting.
It's true. That is a true statement. Other animations like it's tough because Bluepoint basically just took the animations that they had rigged up for the original game and just added more keyframes to them, made them a little smoother. It's not like compared to what you would expect from like a modern FromSoft title, they do not reach that bar.
That's true, but that's also how they keep the jank in it, right?
Exactly, and I love the jank. So
yeah. So here's where I'm at. The animations were okay, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Which is fine. I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't always need to be perfect in every aspect, right? Charm is also still a nice thing to have in games, and it's, as well as feeling, especially when you're doing remakes and stuff like that. If you overhaul too much, I mean, it can be a bit jarring. Then you lose too much of that original feel.
Yeah, exactly. And like Dank Souls also said, the animation is pretty much exactly the same to keep the flavor mostly the same. And give them okay at note your personal preference. Yep, that was what I was thinking too, GlenCon. That was what I was thinking too. See, we try to stay impartial. We love this game, and we're still giving it okays. The writing was all good, but the writing is legitimately all good. Nobody had a single argument with us. Animation is mid-tier for modern games. Nothing is terrible. Everything is okay, and we would not have it any other way. It had to be that way. The style now.
Oh man, did Bluepoint ever do good? Oh man, did they ever do good?
It is stylish, and each area, as I was saying earlier, has its own unique feel to it. You know, if you just took a picture of a wall, you might not be able to tell the difference between all the areas, but if you had a picture of like a scene, or maybe with an enemy in the picture, you know where that is.
Yeah, you can usually pick out exactly which part of the stage it's in as well.
Yeah, each boss marked quite a difference in the experience of the stage.
Yeah, well, even just in speaking in terms of the remake, like they still kept it very faithful, but the amount of just extra fidelity and even just a little bit more of like flavor and taste to the bosses and the levels.
And there's sorry, Sid, I got excited.
Rage loves this game, you can tell.
I got confused for a second. No worries. I was just going to suggest maybe just pulling up a few screenshots of the before and after that you can find.
Sure.
On Google and stuff. You can really see that, like, you can still tell it's the same game, but just with so much, like, it's still the same style, but just enhanced so much more. They didn't, real overhaul or remake it or change it up too much. It was still, the same base template, but hey, let's throw in all the extra hardware we have and really ramp this up.
So I have a story that's related to that. They actually were initially going to redesign Flame Lurker. Flame Lurker was going to look different. But once the community was like, hey, no. This is like the Demon Souls boss. You can't change this. They were just like, oh yeah, that's a good point. We should totally just keep it the same. And then they did. They changed it back to be basically just a higher fidelity version of the older model.
Excellent.
Although they kind of ruined the fluted armor. I know.
But this is what we're talking about here. Like, you can see they're exactly the same scene. And both of them get the same points across. It's just this one looks real pretty while doing it. By the way, this isn't a horn here. If you could see it animated, it's like a floppy tit kind of thing hanging off of its stomach. I died a few times.
Gross.
I died a few times fighting it because I noticed that thing flopping around and I was like, what is that? And it distracted me and he hit me and killed me. That jerk.
Man, really goes to show how far like texturing has come.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
lighting.
It's a huge example of how and how much a texture and lighting change can affect a model.
If you took those original models and just threw them in the new engine with the new lighting, it would still look totally different. Like,
oh yeah.
The lighting in the PS5 version is nuts.
Every area is unique. And
also, they made Storm Ruler bigger. Oh, or not Storm Ruler, Storm King.
every
Storm
area
King
is unique.
So sick in the new game.
Everything is beautiful. Everything seems to fit the same world despite looking different. Everything looks like, you look at it all, you're like, yep, that's Demon Souls, that's the Demon Souls world. And you can also tell where in the world it is right away, which is perfect. It's what you want from your style, your design. Unique consistency. Storm King's fight, good God, the bass shook your brain. That was an absolutely massive feeling fight.
He's huge. Like, you get a sense that he's quite large in the original. In the remake, you're like, holy crap.
Liked the damage effects of Magic 2, how enemies killed with magic would, like, evaporate into a blue haze. The old one was cool too, but seeing the rain stop on the sword drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little effects like that were pretty great.
Yeah, great. Storm King actually got my my boss fight of 2020.
Okay, Controversy 101. Musical score.
It's different.
I don't know the original music. I understand it's quite strange. But I thoroughly enjoyed, I mean, I like Dark Souls music, I like Bloodborne music, so I thoroughly enjoyed the music that they had in Demon Souls. I thought it made the bosses feel epic and engaging.
I think the word to describe the music in the original would be zany. Zany is the word that I would pick. The new music is definitely not that.
They tried to make the music, but with significantly more instruments in the orchestra. Is that actually what they were setting out to do? They just tried to make the same thing, but with... So those zany instruments may still be in there, but they're a little more drowned out because there's just more instruments in general in use?
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Val. The music was definitely pretty dated. It felt a little hollow a lot of the time, but it was just so weird that I have a certain degree of affection for it.
I can understand and appreciate the affection of the old school fans for that music. And of course, I'm never going to tell you that you can't like the music. And I love that it was such a loved part. But if you want to open this game up to new audiences and bring it out today to bring new people into the fold of the Dark Souls world, which, let's face it, having more Dark Souls fans in the world is not a bad thing. If you're a fan of Dark Souls, you should want more people to like Dark Souls, because when more people like Dark Souls, they make more games like Dark Souls. And who doesn't want more Dark Souls games? I want more games that good, that quality, that attention to detail, right? The more people that expect this and get into this, the more we're going to get that sort of thing from our developers. So it's a good thing. And I think changing the music to a more palatable experience for the market today, it was a good change. It made the game enjoyable.
I'm a sucker for orchestral. Just and it's consistent. Like they kept to that setting for, you know, the bosses. At least from the tracks that I saw, it wasn't like they're doing orchestral and all of a sudden they're like, all right, rock band, let's go, or all right, zany flute solos and some other, like they were, you know, they were similar enough that it wasn't jarring between the two. I understand that maybe not for everyone, but I found them pretty epic, especially for like the content that you're fighting, and even just for like the era that kind of goes. I find that it kind of suits that backdrop quite a bit.
Felt like less like it came out of an 80s anime. Well, you know what? It actually kind of did. So Hidetaka takes a lot of 80s manga and anime and that kind of experience. So
I linked the old Adjudicators theme in chat just now, because it is the song that I think of when I think of the Demon's Souls soundtrack. Everybody give that a listen, and then think about how it changed in the new game.
Yeah,
do a little AB on that. And I love Adjudicator's theme. I love it. It's just really dumb.
It's like MIDI versus live performance.
First time I've ever said to reference the conversation in video, because we had so much to say about the musical score and the difference that it just couldn't be summed up. Yeah.
Voice acting. They have mouth flaps now.
That's animation, not voice acting. Excuse me. I think of the intro song, False King Alant's theme, and the ending, but Adjudicator is more indicative of the overall score.
Yeah, it's just, it is why I think of the word zany when I think of Demon's Souls music.
Voice acting. Yes. I mean, I liked it. It was the same quality as all other Demon's Souls and whatnot. Dark Souls.
My understanding is they actually brought back a lot of the old voice actors as well. So you've got the same people redoing their roles, able to just do it with much higher fidelity because of modern recording technology even.
Banjo-Kazooie from hell, top comment from the song.
Basically.
Might as well have just used a tuba and sad trombone for Judicator. Okay, I have to listen to this afterwards.
It's pretty great.
Let me just copy that. Copy you. There we go. There we go. Don't hit enter. Okay. So I didn't get to hear a lot of the voice acting, but I think what I heard was good. Everything that there is said is voice acted, so it's not like it loses marks for not having a lot of voice acting, because it has all voice acting, it just doesn't have a lot of dialogue.
And what there is for dialogue, you have to go find.
Yeah. And I mean, Even if you find everything, though, there's probably less dialogue than the first act of a Yakuza game.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. But it is all voice acted. It's all there. So it's all high quality. It all sounds in character. Everyone has a unique sound to them. Good. Yeah. Everyone good.
I can't see a complaint. I mean, they were quality performances.
Yeah, they did re-record Stockpile Thomas. They did.
Everything is voice acted and accurate. Sounds good and character.
Yeah, I don't
are
disagree with you,
unique.
Dank, but at the same time, like, it kind of makes sense for him to be pretty jaded, especially when you think about like how his life has essentially been ruined by the fog.
Damn you, fog. Sound effects. Now, it's
Storm King, instant good. Like, come on.
no, I'm not trying to argue different than good. I was just trying to put it like, it's hard for me to separate the sound effects from the vibration in the controller in a lot of the parts of the game. Because when I would hit different parts of different kinds of walls, not only would it sound different, but I could feel the different texture from my swing in the controller.
I want a PS5.
And it was just such an experience. It was like, I could tell I hit a different wall by my controller. That was, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to play this on PS5.
Felt his
But
over-attachment enhanced that lore. That sounds like a whole long argument that I would love to have, but I think is maybe out of the scope of just a
definitely.
review.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is a personal taste thing, mostly because they did just change. They changed Stockpile Thomas. He is still like, the lines are the same, but the way that they're delivered is not, and the way that they're recorded is not.
Yeah. The vibration response on the controller was finer than I've ever felt personally. It was nice. That's because it wasn't all vibration response, it's haptic response. Ever since I saw haptic technology for the first time, and this is like over 10 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, haptic first came out, something like that. It's been around for a long time. But when they first demonstrated, I went, this is amazing! And I've just been waiting for it to be used in something forever now. So when the PS5 first announced that it was going to have haptic technology in the controllers, I've been like jumping up and down and screaming about it, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. And then the controller came out and everyone's like, this is the greatest controller anyone's made! And I'm like, I've been telling you this since they announced it. Yeah. You know the phrase, it's essentially using high vibrations in the air to create tactical response feedback. So the first tech example I ever saw of it was generating a keyboard in the air and using laser to draw the keyboard on the desk so that when you touched the keys, you felt a click.
It's pretty sweet.
If you have one of the newer iPhones, this little button on it, that when you click it, you feel the button click in and to press and like almost hear the click, turn off your phone entirely and press that button. And you'll realize it's just actually a little flat piece of plastic that they put on the phone to tell you where to click. And all the rest of it is all haptic feedback.
Yeah, and they do the same thing with the trackpads on the new MacBooks.
Yeah.
Same technology.
Yeah, when you try to click the MacBook trackpad, you actually feel it click and depress, and you hear the little click and everything. And then when you turn it off and you touch it, you're like, oh, it's just a little sheet of plastic. It's really cool.
Glass, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, sound effects. Yeah, we were at good.
Yeah. Storm
Game
King,
sounds
instant good.
Great. Storm King instant good. There you go. It's in there. AI. It's okay.
Literally exactly the same as the 2009 remake because it's just ported over into the new engine.
It's literally the 2009 AI. I am glad they kept it. I would not have it any other way.
Yeah, I think it's one of those parts of a remake
It
when you're still
is
trying to
just okay.
stay true to the original, that if you start changing and enhancing the AI, it's really going to change the feel of the game. And at that point, you're basically just making a new game and defeating the purpose of, a remake. You might as well just make Demon Souls 2.
Final Fantasy VII.
By the way. I would totally be down for Demon Souls 2.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy VII, take note. This is how you do a remake. That's not a remake. Don't call it a remake. It's a reimagining. Actually, you know what it should be? It should be called Final Fantasy VII Bastardization. That's what it should be called.
Heck.
You are late, Rubido. Get in the corner. And welcome. You can come back.
Put on the late hat.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you a late hat. Oh, you don't even know the rest they got planned, no doubt. It's Final Fantasy VII Nomura ruins everything. Final Fantasy VII are 100% a different game? Huh? I don't know.
They're just agreeing with you that it's a totally different game. It is not the same game anymore.
They're shitting over everything MMF, Nomuraism, it's a plague. Yeah, well, I mean, what happened is the people that cared about Final Fantasy left the company when Enix bought out Square. Everyone's like, they merged. No, Squaresoft went bankrupt and they agreed to merge so that some of the executives could keep their jobs and Enix gets control of all of the Squaresoft IPs. Enix bought Square. Let's be honest here. That's what happened. Final Fantasy team gone. Nobody cares about the IP anymore. How much money can we wring out of this thing before people don't care about it anymore? Turns out, tons. They just reskinned it. I wouldn't. Yeah, that's all I wanted. As soon as I found out they were changing the combat system, I was like, done. And then I was like, oh, it's coming out in 3 games. Done. You know what? Even if I do want to play it, I'm going to buy the 3rd one and get to see the climactic ending and play with all the cool spells. And not have spent $300. Thank you. Okay, accessibility. There's text for all words. I guess.
I think it's kind of bad.
Is it?
On the badder side, as with most From titles kind of go to, yeah, it's not very accessible, which is their kind of proactive decision around it, and like they're allowed to do that, but it's just the truth of what the game is that it's just not very accessible.
That's true. There's not even controller rebinding, is there?
Nope.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. I looked into it. If you cannot play the game the way it is, too bad. And it really is too bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and they haven't really taken a good stance on it. They could probably word things a bit better in their responses, because they've straight up kind of come out saying we don't want people with disabilities playing the game, which isn't great. I'm not sure if it's not what they meant to say, but like there is, like, I understand at some point, they don't want to put in, because I think the main complaint most people have is like difficulty settings, and I understand why they don't want to put in difficulty settings, and I do understand that would ruin the experience overall. So it's an unfortunate thing, and I mean they could just say it's designed to play this way, and it's an unfortunate thing, but it's just, for artistic reasons they have it the way it is. But accessibility wise, bad.
We should include that it does have contrast options to give you more contrast between the UI and the background, and it does have full closed. Does it have closed captioning? No, it just has subtitles.
And there are, I guess there are, it's subtitles for the video scenes. Dual inversion. Thankfully, if it didn't have dual inversion, I'd be so sad. Like super sad. Although I think you can invert it in the PS5 as well. They aren't going to make JRPGs anymore. Yep. Yes, it's well. Some people make JRPGs, but yeah, they're not going to make JRPGs anymore. And just stop
And if they're
calling it
bringing in
Final
the-
Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a JRPG system, and now everyone's like,
No,
well,
it's not. It hasn't been for 15 years.
It really has been a long time now, hasn't it? Final Fantasy 12 was 15 years ago. Yes, it was. Jesus. Sucks.
Wait, when did Final Fantasy 12 come out? Am I full of shit? Has it only been a decade?
Because Final Fantasy 12 was the first one to break the mold. Final Fantasy 11 was by Squaresoft, and it was an MMO, and it was actually a JRPG MMO. It was like menu-based combat MMO.
I nailed it. It was almost exactly 15 years. Final Fantasy 12 came out March 16th, 2006.
That was the first Square Enix Final Fantasy. That was the last time. That was the end of Final Fantasy. Oh yeah. No, Final Fantasy 11 is really, really, really cool. Really, really, really cool. Very hard game too. You gotta know your... When I used to be a raid recruiter, when I'd see people with Final Fantasy 11 experience in their raid resume, I would bump them to the top. Always, right away. Those are the people I wanted. They know how to work as a team, and they know how to work quickly and accurately. Mechanics are solidly okay.
Yeah, it's missing a lot of the polish that Dark Souls got.
And item weight can die in a fire. And it did, thankfully.
And world tendency as well.
I don't even understand world tendency. All I know is that people kept coming in and looking at my game and going, "Oh, white world tendency."
And then you go,
is that a good
thing? Okay.
Still have no idea if it's good or bad. It just is.
Yeah, no. World tendency can die in a fire. Item burden can die in a fire. The mechanics around backstabbing and parrying were not super great in the remake. They were better in the original. What else do I have to say about this? Demon Souls and its gated communities.
Accurate. You have to be a special kind of masochist to have gotten into Demon Souls back in the day. But it does offer some amazing things. Combat
that blew my mind
still
when
great.
they realized that you can just send stuff to your box now. Like that, my mind was blown. An entirely different game.
Don't know, Board. We'll see. But yeah, there's combat is still great.
Combat overall is great. Parry and backstab animations need to be.
I mentioned that.
Hardened.
And the other thing I wanted to say was there was another negative I wanted to point out, but I don't remember what it was now. Oh, weapon upgrade.
Oh yeah,
System is
weapon upgrade paths are-
needlessly complicated. Yeah, and I mean, this is again we're reviewing Demon Souls at the same time. This is it gets the same marks like we said at the beginning. The marks are for its current state. Bugs, I don't know of any. Strange AI behavior is strange AI behavior. I'm not calling that a bug. I'm putting that under AI. It is what it is.
There's some fun bugs, like glitchy speedrunny get launched into the sky bugs. But other than that, I'm not familiar with a lot of problems with the PS5 re-release.
Honestly, I think it should get a good, if for no other reason than they kept a lot of the speedrun bugs and tricks and stuff in it.
As long as it's not like intentional bugs will always exist. Like I don't think any game can be 100% bug free, or any piece of software for that matter. But as long as it's, in a casual playthrough, if you're not hitting bugs and not hitting weird things or not having issues, then that's the good mark to hit. If people go out looking for that stuff and it's like, oh yeah, you'll get launched in the air if you jump in these corners and hold crouch and wait 2 seconds and then jump, it's like, okay, well, no one's going to casually do that. Like the way these were found is usually people trying to find ways to get out of the map, which is actually really fun. If you've never tried it, play an open world game, try getting out of the map. Real fun, especially in the Halo series. But casually, it shouldn't happen.
Halo either.
if you understand how these levels are designed and how collision works and how all the code is really behaving in order to keep you in the map, then you're going to be able to find ways to get out of the map. All right. In order to make these games work on the hardware that they're given, we use lots and lots and lots of shortcuts in the building of it. So if you know where those shortcuts are, you know where the holes are. You know where to poke your finger. Right?
Corners. Turns out it's really hard to do if it's a corner of a room and there's a bunch of detection. Chances are one of those walls won't actually be doing detection in time and you can get through. Just gotta keep crouching and jumping in there and moving in as sporadic as you can. Most of the time you'll get launched due to physics just calculating and launching you or colliding with every wall at once, so then you're forced to bounce off of it has been multiplied by 4, so you just fly, or it will just miss the calculation and push you through one of the walls.
Yep. So yeah, good. In a casual playthrough, you should experience no issues.
Also, the luck bug, though. The luck bug. Okay, so I think I explained this during your playthrough, but I don't know if you remember it. So there's an item that Bluepoint added to the game. It's the rusted coin. It's very similar to the rusted coin from Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. It increases item drop rates temporarily. The way it works in Demon's Souls, because there's a luck stat, is by setting your luck super high, like super high. So if you pop a rusted coin, wait a bit, go to the Maiden in Black and open up the level up screen, you can just see your luck value scroll by as it rolls past int, and then it starts getting into big int, and then it just keeps going.
Can you overflow it or underflow?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Lovely.
Interesting.
And then there's a weapon that scales off luck.
So you're not likely to find that bug, but if you know about it, you can certainly abuse it. Typical speedrun.
I just wanted to call that out because it's amazing.
Yeah. Blue Blood Sword was your favorite sword from the original, and to see it break the game with 90,000 luck, hell yeah.
And that's like one rusted coin.
RNG. Drop rates are ludicrously low. I do agree with Dank Souls.
Only for upgrade materials.
Yeah,
Other
that's
things
true.
Drop fairly regularly.
Yeah, healing items. I think soul values from the kill. That's not random, but it was well dispersed with the item drop rates. Actually, things dropped almost 100% of the time from a lot of them.
The one thing that you'll hear about people having to farm for ages is final stage upgrade stones, like the pure versions of the stones. If you can't find them in the world, unless you get super lucky, you are in for probably tens, if not hundreds of hours of farming.
Oof.
They fixed
Pure
Dark
Dark Moon? Because that used to be like the you farm it for 300 hours item.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother either. Though I have put a ludicrous number of hours into farming some items in Earthbound. Earthbound was the one that I put the most into. Goddamn Sword of Kings. Had to get the Sword of Kings. Crystal lizards being one chance to get them or you're screwed was another thing I hated about Demon's Souls. I've seen instances where someone actually killed a lizard and then its corpse just clips through the world and vanishes.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing. But they're not actually one chance.
I killed most of them many times.
They will respawn based on the number of bosses you've killed in an area.
They just kept respawning almost infinitely for me. I don't know why. Every time I came by, there was more of them there.
You kept not dying and then killing bosses.
Yes, that's true. I did kill a lot of bosses.
You killed a lot of bosses really quickly.
Take that, bosses. Okay, so interesting to know that they actually respawn. So I think I'm good with good then. Damage wasn't random.
I mean, like there, like we mentioned, there's some fuckery around upgrade stones, but other than that, the RNG is used appropriately.
We'll give it a good and call out that drop rates on upgrade materials could be better. Otherwise, RNG is well used and is not a major impact on the outcome of the game. Because we do not want to lose a fight to RNG ever in a character action game. You can lose a fight to RNG in a JRPG. It's a little more forgivable just because of the nature of the games. A little more forgivable.
Because it is a numbers game. But this is not a numbers game. This is an execution game.
The control was good. Period. Control was good.
Should probably call out the
controller
haptics in
is
the control box
amazing
as well.
You cannot fully appreciate the haptics until you play it. Yep. Haptic control is good control. I think that's fair. I mean, it is a next-gen game, so audio and video were beautiful. Turns out the bar is going to be pretty high for this next generation. We've got some processing power to play with now. Games are getting pretty.
This is one of what, like 5 actual next-gen games that have come out?
Yeah. What are we calling the... I think the gameplay is an okay.
Yeah, I'd give it an okay based on 3 goods, 2 okays, and a bad.
Yeah. Also, I think the core part of the game is really mechanics. And that also got an okay. It will never be as bad as PS3 Demon Souls, pure items, especially considering only a few are guaranteed. As long as you have a few guaranteed, I'm kind of fine with it. You know what? If you wanted more than that, plan yourself better or do another run.
Yeah, just go into New Game. It's like every other Souls game. The first half of New Game Plus is absurdly easy.
All right. Next game. You know what? I've been thinking, instead of putting us in the talk show and podcast category, I might put us in the category for the game we're talking about at that time.
A bold move.
I'm gonna grab some water. I'll just be right back.
Okay. You're definitely going to be needed on this one.
You're going to need it because you're going to have to carry. I missed, unfortunately, quite a bit of this playthrough.
That's okay. He's well rested because you've been carrying for the Demon Souls. Add some water to my own little cup here. Yeah,
we talked for over an hour about Demon Souls. That was pretty good.
Hi.
That happens. It'll be a
Raven.
longer panel, but that's okay. Hey, Raven, welcome. You missed the Demon Souls, but you made it in time for Yakuza. Yakuza. Yeah, no, I think I'll leave us in talk show for now, but I'm thinking of trying out the game we're talking about when we do a review of the game. Might be a different audience. You was lurking. I don't believe you.
Stepdaddy Simulator.
Yeah. Pretty much sums it up. The whole game, you're just trying to rescue this girl that keeps getting herself into trouble. Little girl. That's pretty much the game. World. Okay.
All right, well,
so
now that Suda's back,
So
I'm gonna go get some water.
once again, ground rules for Yakuza Kiwami. We're not going to be taking away marks or anything like that because it's the same world as the other games, because that's part of the genius. It's its own encapsulation product, and we look at it as its own whole.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do a remake and then change the world. At that point, you're just kind of making a new game. That being said, they did do quite a bit to enhance the world that's there. A lot more stuff around.
Yeah. So, as a first-time Yakuza experience, jumping into not Yakuza World experience, my second Yakuza World experience, but my first Yakuza experience. Haven't played Yakuza 1. So, just from that view of coming in, I thought they did a wonderful job building the world. I got a feel for the wealth of the people, the state of the people. There's different districts, different amounts of crime in different areas. I knew if I go to certain parts of the city, I'm more likely to get jumped and have people try to beat me up. Different areas, I'm safe. There's food districts, there's bar districts. Everything's a little different. I loved the world. I got a feel for Kamurocho by the end of the game.
I get used to it. You got a lot more Kamurocho coming your way.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's what I've always really liked about the Yakuza series, and I talk about it every time, is kind of just for the world building. They kind of build the two kind of distinct worlds in themselves. They have actual, depending on which game you're playing, the date of kind of Japan that you're in, and the kind of the town and the city you're in. And the atmosphere is there really good, but they also have this entire Yakuza underworld that they also show you, and it's completely separated from the surface of this city and surface of this town. It's the underlings of what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on in behind these closed doors and in this criminal underworld. And it's based off what kind of actually goes on, what kind of systems are in place, but the way that they actually kind of build out their stories, and they get it's just fantastically written, fantastically presented. You feel like you're kind of part of that world when Kira's part of the Yakuza, and just kind of the way they explain everything, you do kind of feel the two sides. When you're out just walking about in the city, you're like, okay, this is, Japan in the 80s or Japan in the 90s or Japan in the set area. But then when you're also with the Yakuza and you're in their offices and their kind of bases and stuff like that, it feels completely different from the towns. These are all of a sudden huge kind of structures or huge organizations, and you can see references to it everywhere, and it kind of just has its own feel. And it's nice to kind of have the distinct layers between the two of, this is the civilian world and this is, where everything kind of else happens. This is the criminal underworld. You can kind of move between the two.
Absolutely. You can just sit there and nod, Rage. It'll be good. Just defer to Pseudo, right?
Basically. I unfortunately missed a very large portion of this.
In Kiwami, did
quite busy at the time.
Keep the insane English cast it had on PS2?
No, it's subs, so it's still Japanese subs. Yeah, there's not too much reason to play the original PS2 one. This is they actually do change quite a bit in the remake. They kind of do fix a bunch of plot holes, and they add a lot of mechanics. Like the Majima everywhere is a mechanic that's only in the remake. And I absolutely love that. Watching Days' playthrough, I don't remember it being that frequent. It seemed like every 10 seconds Majima was like, fight me. I don't remember it being that frequent. And I can see that maybe some people could get annoyed by it, but me personally, I still enjoyed fighting Majima every time. He's just such a goofy character.
I didn't mind the Majima fights. Also keep in mind that I was not taking my time with the game like some people, like most people who plays that kind of game would. I was kind of pushing the story forward, so I'm sure that his appearance is kind of tied to where you are in the story to keep that rank. Like I'm sure it's checking, hey, he's only at this rank and he's this far in the story. We've got to get that rank higher in order to.
Yeah, that'd make a lot more sense because I saw sometimes you fight him and then you would go around the corner and then fight him again. And I guess it's because you progress in the story and unlocked all the encounters because you can't farm him. There's only so many you can do before the story progresses. So that does make sense. Yeah,
I do remember a point where I was on the west of Kamurocho and I had to get to the little park on the east where the old people are, or the homeless people are, and I fought him 3 times running down that main strip without turning a corner. Just kept running straight and kept fighting him. And I was okay with it because Majima is not only the best fight, he's also the best character, and the game gets good just because it has Majima for characters.
Yeah, and then Q is always a solid character. It's one of the best Ubermenschs out there, just done to a T. He's consistent in his, his moral and his goals, and he's just like, most of the time when you're playing someone who's just like, plot armored, invincible, you can kind of get a bit boring because they're never really in any trouble. But the Yakuza series does a real good job of, you don't really ever worry about Kiryu. It's just that Kiryu is trying to save everyone around him, and it's kind of just the family and the stuff that he cares about. So you're not really like, nothing's gonna happen to him, but you're just always worried about what's happening to the characters that could actually have something happen to them. So it's a nice plot design of that. Is like, that's just his moral studying. That's just as good of a character it is, and it's nice to see that it's always consistent. They don't try to put in flaws. It's like, no, he just is a superhuman. He's just a fantastic being who is just calculated in his approach to everything. It's just it's so good. And then for the other characters, like Majima is just fantastic. I don't even know how to describe what goes on in writing the process for that. He's just wild and all over the place, and it still somehow fits because he still has a serious side that they can break out, and he's kind of like an anti Kiryu. He's just like lawful good versus just kind of chaotic neutral. One's bound by rules and a code, the other one just does whatever the hell they want. They feel it could be good, could be bad. It's just whatever I feel like, complete impulse versus complete tact and calculation.
Were you there when I was comparing Majima to the perfect example of chaotic neutral?
I think so.
Okay.
It's a really good example for it. Like it really does fit. It's just like sometimes they're doing good, sometimes they're doing bad. It's just it's all impulse. What's in it for me right now? Impulse it, and then further on to the more evil spectrum, like the actual bosses, like the Yakuza bosses and the underlings and stuff like that. And when the ones are supposed to be evil, they're not like cheesily evil. They're not like, I'm evil for evil's sake. It's like, no, I'm evil because I'm selfish and I want power, and this is how I'm going to get power, and I don't care if I step on people. I'm not hurting people for the sake of hurting people. I'm hurting people for the sake of adjusting my position in the underworld and pushing myself up, or making sure that I'm living more comfortably, which is a selfish and evil act. But at least it's not just cheesy as I just like to hurt people kind of writing.
Yeah, well, sometimes people just want to see the world burn. That is actually a thing. That's not bad writing, but I love the writing for all the characters I've ever seen in Yakuza. Now that we're getting into storyline, the characters fall into the storyline as well, and we can just kind of flat out say that Yakuza's the best gangster movie I've ever played. Just kind of flat out, period. Yeah.
A lot of it is cutscenes. It's a really surprising thing about it too. People don't expect it. It's like, yeah, you're going to be watching a lot of cutscenes, but for some reason they just don't seem that long, even though they kind of are. It just engages you so well.
It's an amazingly written gangster drama anime wrapped in a video game. Right.
Every time a cutscene ends, you don't notice how long it was because you're just like, I want to know more. What happens next? Please continue.
And then you get some beat 'em up segments, and then you get back to more story.
And well done beat 'em ups.
Yeah, and like the beat 'em up parts, like they are repetitive, and it's not like a negative thing to the game experience too. And it's just goes to show that how engaging that story is, that they can kind of not have to rely on a super engaging combat system or super engaging gameplay, and they can actually, allow the story to be one of the main driving factors that pushes you forward. And they kind of allow the player a break if they want one. It's not like the sections that get to like the long parts, because there are parts of the game where it is story for quite a bit, but they kind of break it up into parts where like, okay, that was quite a bit of story, but now you can, jump right back in the story. But if you want to, you can go do the side stuff, go get a kind of fresh break from what's going on, maybe get some comic relief from the side stories, because most of them are pretty zany, and Majima's popping up trying to kill you or beat you up for all the time just because he can, and he wants to just try and get stronger. Or you can go and do all the kind of mini games, go to the arcade, go do I think one has the stock car racing, little RC car racing, and always just kind of zany things that, if people are getting a little burned out on the story, they can go do, or for people who are engaged, they can just go do the story.
I didn't do a lot of the side things just because I just wanted more. Like, the side games are fun, I'm sure. No, he's not. They reference him though. They talk about him and talk about how he's not around anymore, which is kind of cool. I liked that touch. But Yeah, like you were saying, I definitely wanted to touch on the storyline fact that the use of comic relief is just so perfect. So far in the whole series, the 2 games that I've played, they're both perfect. The story is stab you in the feels over and over again. And then the rest of the game is lighthearted and make you laugh. And it's that perfect balance. It's not just kicking your feels over and over where you're like, stop, they're already dead. It's none of that. It's everyone is broken up by this, hilarious laugh and silly exchange and Majima popping out of a giant street cone, and
it gets a nice balance for like the wholesome content too, because there's parts when there's wholesome moments and stuff like that, and like a lot of serious titles, like movies included, will try to do the serious topic, and then cut to comedic relief, and then the comedic relief just comes off a bit too abrupt and kind of just cheesy in that sense, where you can kind of, once you're aware of its purpose right out of the gate, it kind of loses the point of it, right? You don't take it as seriously. Whereas Yakuza, the way they pace things, the way they build things out, and the way they kind of just deploy these writing mechanisms, it's delivered great. It's not kind of in your face. It's a nice kind of break from what's going on. You may not realize that you kind of need a break from all the feels in your face, but it's good to have. Like I said, they balance it quite well. It's not just all over the place, too sad all the time. It's not also just all this comedic relief. You can't take it serious. It's enough balance of each that really kind of progresses it forward and makes it serious, but also keeps that kind of lighthearted tone that it has as well.
Yeah, again, that's exactly what we're touching on, Val.
Calling out just how well all of these things are tied together. It really does feel like they've got like some of the better writers for any entertainment working on this project that just do such a great job of knowing when to provide that comic relief, knowing when is the right moment to bring in, some heartfelt story about a relationship that Kiryu has.
Some of the best writers, actors, and cinematographers.
Yeah, they really go ham on like the whole medium. Yeah. It's it's one of the things like mechanically, like the game, it's not the strongest suit of it, but it's amazing to see that those other mediums can translate well into this, because it could just stand on its own as just a TV show or a movie series, but being able to embed it as well into a video game series is just really cool to see, because it is still a very fun video game, and like mechanics are still good, but it's nice to have the way that they can still experience it. And that's one of those things we we're talking about before, where writing a story for a video game can be pretty hard because it's a completely different beast. You don't have control over the pacing, and the way they can kind of control the pacing for this game is, they can have breaks of, well, you need to wait a day, or, they can go do some side content if they want, or if they want, they can just jump right into the next thing. And the side missions are also really well written, but it's a different kind of writing where it's always mostly lighthearted, and the style is still the same and kind of consistent. It's really nice to kind of see it. It's always that kind of Kiryu walks into some zany thing going on, like, what is this, a bit naive to what's happening. It gets explained and they're just confused, and then something else zany happens, and then for some reason somebody wants to fight, and he gets drawn into the fight for whatever reason and beats up the person, and someone's thankful, and he continues on his way, punching people into being nicer.
Yep. No, yeah, you bring up a good point, how they use the breaks very, very organically. Like, there's never a timed break. A lot of the breaks in the side quests are usually very open-ended, where if you never see that person again, you wouldn't be surprised, but the quest hasn't ended. There will be another experience with them likely.
And I think that really throws into sharp relief some of the problems with the quest lines in 2077, where you would be progressing a story, and then they're just like, stop, not doing this anymore. You need to go take a break.
They did that once in Yakuza 1.
They did it a bunch in Cyberpunk, and it drove me up the wall.
Yeah, just let us progress the story if we want to progress the story. You know what? Don't give us an open world game where the world is however you want to experience it, and then tell us how to experience it. Okay?
Yeah, or like, it's just such an inorganic break as well. It's just like, nope, you can't. And it's like, why? It's like, you gotta wait till later. We can't tell you. And it's like, what, if it's gonna happen, at least like explain something. Like, there's other games that'll have breaks in story between like major events happening for open world, and it's usually like, all right, you helped me out, and you'll hit some, you know, mini climax in their subplot. And now let's say it's like a town that you saved and they're part of the town. Well, now they're just hanging out there. And then later on, some world event causes their town some issues. And now there's more side quests for that character because, you know, they have more conflict to deal with, rather than just being like, okay, we have to pause because we have to wait for you to catch up with other main storyline things, but not really explain it well. It's just all of a sudden abrupt. Yeah, there's nothing. We're building up to this story and we got to put it on pause for a bit, and not having like I said, the kind of mini sub-story climaxes, little kind of those breaking points that are a bit more organic, where some conflict got resolved, so you do feel that kind of break. You know, it's not like mid conflict you're about to resolve it, they're like, nope, wait, you gotta wait. It's like, I want to do it now.
Yeah. I can't gauge performance.
I played it. Yeah, I played it. Even
runs well on my computer. It should run well on yours, right?
It works on my machine.
Even like the original, when it released on like the PS4, ran fine. I didn't have any issues with it. I think it has unlocked frames on PC. I believe. I don't think they've locked them, which is nice. But yeah, like I said, it should. I can't see it. People having too many issues running it. I don't think I've seen too many complaints over it. It's not like a super high graphic fidelity game.
No, it's not. It looks good though.
It does. It's definitely good. It has what it needs, and it was, like I said, it was a console release. It was a PS4 release, which was then eventually got ported to PC. And I do think they've actually improved some of the graphics on the PC releases. I think they've added some additional lighting and some settings that you can change, which is nice. But nothing that like, if you have a gaming computer, it's not like you're going to struggle to run this. You should be able to run it as long as it's comparable to a console, which most gaming computers are. If
you do turn everything all the way up, it can have issues. I was like struggling to stream it and hit 60 frames with everything maxed on my system. So there's that. But it was, once I turned it down to like reasonable levels, I saw zero difference in the game itself. And it ran wonderfully. High fidelity comes during the 9 naked female wrestling mini game.
The bugs. That was very strange.
I love that game. The totally an insect cards.
Yeah, I don't think it ever comes back, which I'm kind of okay with. It was yeah. It's just one of those mini games that they don't always age too well. They don't always port over well to
you know
Western
what?
culture.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They don't port to Western culture very well. That mini game was so Japanese. Really was. And a lot of people were just like, yeah, is this acceptable?
We get Twitch ban. It's getting kind of
no, Twitch is fine with it. Twitch is fine with it. If other people were fine streaming Sopranos on the PS2 with those pepperoni areolas all everywhere in the game, then this is fine. Card battle and RPS games are huge over there. Yep, they sure are. Animation.
It's kind of most Yakuza games kind of fall into that okay category. The actual, like, the cutscene animations are fantastic and very modern for the redone.
I like the battle animations too. I thought they were good.
They there's just some issues with
I thought they were horrific.
Kiryu's okay, but I guess I was more looking at Majima's. I guess you always say this in the game. It's a different approach to animation. It's a beat 'em up game.
Yeah. It's there's not a whole lot of like what's there. It's all right. Like it does the job. There's a lot of room that can be improved, especially for keyframing and transitions. They don't really have a lot of transitioning animations. It's kind of just stop and play, especially when you get hit. You'll be in the middle of some action and it just completely resets your animation to another one. They kind of reuse the same kind of getting hit animation a lot of times. But like it's a beat 'em up, so it's kind of just part of the territory. They don't need to have a whole lot of that for it, and it's not like a fully negative thing, but
they could, though.
Yeah.
They have the budget, they have the technology. They could have done a lot better, and they didn't. Like it's okay at best. The combat animations are awful.
They're quite over the top, but
I wouldn't call them awful. I've seen worse. Definitely seen worse.
But on a game with that budget?
I don't know.
Like
I actually,
the
as far
Yakuza
as
games
beat 'em
are
up games go, I liked them.
huge.
I liked the combat.
Yeah, I think it's
I
just-
never had an issue with any of the animation in it. Never bothered me. At
Yeah,
all.
it's kind of just the beat 'em up genre is just kind of like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
it
it
was
could
just-
be better. Like,
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it might just move it a bit too far into then just action rather than like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I'm not going to say it's good. I'm not defending on that merit, but I can still understand it maybe for stylistic or even just feel reasons why they kept it there. And it's like I said, it's one of the main things that's kind of protrudes through most of the Yakuza series that doesn't really change too much is that kind of fighting animations. 7 is is fairly different since they've kind of moved into the JRPG. And there's quite a bit of animations get added for that, but it still kind of has that same kind of bit of just jank feel to it. It's
Maybe it's just because I'm used to some beat 'em ups and I've played a few over the years, but yeah. Especially it's the breakdance style that always stands out to me with Majima.
yeah, that one's a whole lot of fun.
I mean, you don't even get to use it in this one, but it looks good.
it does look good, but it's a lot of canned animations that you just snap out of if you get hit. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, but that's not really the animation's fault. That's the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, well, they could have the transition, like they could add transitions and add animations for the transitions and have kind of like there's a whole lot of stuff get added for that. But I understand maybe why they don't want to step into that because they have a feel and they have a thing that fans like, and it's one of those things where it'd be kind of a gamble.
It would be an
rehaul that
enormous amount of work to like tween frames from all those different attacks into hit animations and everything, and I don't think it would add anything to the game. I really don't.
strong disagree. I think it would add a lot. I think it would make me want to actually at least try it. Just if the combat was smoothed out, like not necessarily too smoothed out, but like, you know, a little bit more variation to attack animations, a little bit more variation to hit animations, a little bit better smoothing between the things that are happening, a little bit more not just Kiryu going like this.
But that's what Kiryu does. That's what Kiryu does. That's who Kiryu
He should
is.
also do other things, like
That's like saying Superman's just flying around all the time. Superman flies around. That's what Superman does.
no. They would need to basically entirely revamp their combat engine for me to actually play a Yakuza game.
Yeah, combat is definitely not the focus of the game. I agree with that. But it's good enough that if you like, it's a beat 'em up game loop with like just little beat 'em up segments thrown into an open world exploration, basically.
Well, it's just like here comes hashtag opinions. It's a game that they went, okay, we want to deliver this amazing story, and we're going to have these, you know, incredible cutscene animations. Everything's going to look really good, and we're going to have great facial technology. We're going to do all this work, and then how do we make this video game? I don't know, shitty beat 'em up, like.
It's not a shitty beat 'em up though.
It's
Compared to what they could have done with the budget and technology that they have available to them, it's like a mediocre at best beat 'em up.
I'd say it's a pretty good beat 'em up.
Pretty good beat 'em up
for how beat 'em ups are. That's just how beat 'em ups
I
are.
think you just really don't like beat 'em ups. It's more what it
I think
is.
it's mostly just don't like them.
We'll have to play one of my favorite beat 'em ups together though, and you'll be playing it with us, so it'll be fun. Because it's coming
we'll
out.
see.
It's coming out, and it's got to be done. It won't be a long one. We can sit down and finish it in a few hours, and it'll be done, and we can laugh about it. That's the TMNT arcade beat 'em up that they're remastering and releasing.
See, I love that game though.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of the best. One of the best. It's like the bar in my mind for beat 'em ups. That game was so good. Love that one. But
Like
I don't know how much of that is rose-colored goggles either, because the last time I played it, I was knee-high to a grasshopper, standing on a crate in an arcade going, this game is amazing, I love turtles.
I did replay it recently. It is that good.
Yes.
It's a good game. But like when somebody says beat 'em up, that's what I think of. And it's actually got like really satisfying combat mechanics to it. Like, sure, it's not 3D, but it's got satisfying combat mechanics. You can do a bunch of things. There's enemies being thrown at you all over the place. Like there's interaction with the combat. Whereas like Yakuza, it's just get a weapon and win.
Well,
Doesn't even matter what weapon it is.
You can just get a weapon and win, but Yakuza's approach, because Kiryu is an ubermensch and they don't want to block content, for the most part, the fights can be approached
Then
as...
don't put it in.
No, it's
the
fun.
game worse.
It's fun. It's fun because when you approach the fight, it's more, how do you want to beat this person up?
Yeah, it's never really supposed to be like a challenge. Like you can just weapon spam through, but like it's not as fun as just using the other combat and the combos and getting the specials off. Like it's actually fun.
But it's worse though.
No, it's not.
Not really.
It's really not.
It's
It's
just
just a
personal
different
opinion, like-
approach. It's a different approach is what it is. It's not, none of it is meant to be a challenge at all.
Like
yeah.
the way I played through was I went for the dragon counter, and that was my favorite thing. Is just parry counter everything, parry counter, feel like a badass, parry counter everything, and then just spam the specials off and kind of chain this together. And there is actually a lot of depth to it. It just doesn't need to get explored because they don't force the player to do it, because you can chain combos between different stances. You can transition between them. There is actually a combat system in there. It just doesn't need to be explored unless you want to. It kind of just lets
Turning up the
play
difficulty
how they want to.
might demand a little bit more of you in the combat. I definitely played on the normal setting, but like for me, for a while, I remember a point in combat where I got really into the throw because he was smashing people's heads into the ground, and then I just started finding all the head smashing moves, and for a while in the game, all I did was smash heads into things. And then I'd find a different style to play with for a while and approach it a different way, and it was always entertaining and fun. Always entertaining and fun.
The progression tree can be good too, especially with like the different fight styles that you like. I think you played a lot of brawler and like.
I did a lot of brawler. I did a lot of I did a lot of all three of them really. I used the fast dodgy weavy on almost every boss and all the long fights. I used the blue kind of thug style on most of my street fights, and then anytime there was a lot of people, I would use beast, just pound through them all, and then after a while I just started liking certain moves from certain ones and finding, I want to do this to somebody, I want to do that to somebody, and I just go do that.
Yeah, style. We're talking about mechanics way earlier.
we are, but the mechanics are fun to talk about. The style is good, though, as I was talking about earlier. Every unique area of the city is understandable and recognizable, and everything looks good, and I love the stylized graphics. They didn't go for photorealistic. They went for realistic enough that you can recognize it, and then kind of stylized everything. It fits the era.
Yeah,
Well, it's
definitely good style.
Unique.
Very fun to watch as well.
Each area is recognizable as part of Yakuza and where it is. I always felt bad for those gold suit guys, Nouveau Riche. Your money is mine. It's there, but I don't think Yakuza ever had a goal of being known for being highly mechanical, difficult fighting. See, all those extra fighting moves just make it more fun because you're not doing the same move over and over and over again. You can go and do different things all the time. And it breaks up what seems like a monotonous combat system into having a lot of fun and experimenting with beating people up. I think it's just not what you want.
I'm not going to argue with it anymore because I don't think we're ever going to agree.
It's fine for this game. I think it's just not what you want from the game.
No, not even slightly.
Yeah. Musical score is okay. Anyone disagree?
No, it's got like Yakuza series has really good atmospheric sounds. This is one of the unfortunate things about really good atmospheric music is that you don't really remember it. You would remember it if it wasn't there, but
Yeah.
it's there. It would be really nice to have, like, they do have battle music, but it kind of does get recycled for most of the battle music. It would be really nice for them to kind of solidify into like an actual melodic theme for certain things. I'd love Majima to have like a really memorable theme when you fight him and stuff like that. I think that's something that could be added that might be kind of missing or enhanced a bit. Same with just, you know, if certain types of characters also had, you know, certain battle music. If you're fighting, you know, Yakuza versus fighting thugs versus fighting other stuff, it's, you know, it's what's there is fine. And just, you know, as usual, just room for improvement.
Yeah, nobody remembers the score, and that's kind of how we gauge our score, Dink. An okay means it didn't heighten the experience, it didn't worsen the experience.
It was just kind of there and good enough.
Yeah. Good is, you know, things like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Chrono Trigger and Doom and games where like the soundtrack is so good it makes your daily playlist, or you find yourself humming it to yourself. Like if I go,
Oh no, it's gonna be in my head for a week.
it's you know, that one's good. That's good. It's memorable, but generic electronic, I don't even remember it. I mean, it filled the gap. It's a lot
of rock. Kind of guitar rock music for the battles, at least. The karaoke is always really fun, but yeah, that's mostly just a side content thing.
It fills the gap. You know, it's there. If there was no music there, like Suda said, it would be worse. No music would be bad in that game. It would be jarring. It's not Space Country, which is our reference to Dead Space 3. At a point in Dead Space 3 where you're crawling through this derelict ship, it starts playing country music.
And then throws a bunch of zombies at you. And you
Really?
just kind of go, what?
I mean, even people in the chat that like country were going, why are they playing country? This makes no sense. What are you doing? Yeah, no, so it was none of that. Everything kind of fit, but it's not memorable. It was just the right amount for the right time, and it's fine. Yeah, we tend to do that too.
It's a shame they never made a third game, isn't it?
Well, if you need to remember it, you can play it for free on Game Pass right now.
Shh.
little plug.
That was actually Game Pass. That was Xbox. The EA Play has it, but they just linked EA Play and Xbox Game Pass together. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you now have EA Play as well.
Game Pass is becoming that like Katamari of content of games. They're just rolling into bigger and bigger and bigger.
I looked at how many
everything is Game Pass.
I looked at how many games I have installed on Game Pass and went, I should keep this.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, it's a huge library.
It's an enormous library of content, and for a fairly reasonable amount of money. Like,
yeah, no, Game Pass is absolutely worth it now.
Get grandfathered before the price goes up.
Yeah, I've already given voice acting a good on Yakuza Kiwami. Is there anything you would like to gush about?
It's just the performances are awesome. Like I don't speak a lot of Japanese, don't understand a lot of it, and I don't need to. It's the nice thing about it. There's just so much emotion and so much you can just tell from their vocal tones. And there's a lot of scenes in this game where there's just, you know, they're like, it gets very anime with the yelling and the kind of just like anger parts, but it's not as cheesy as it can be. It's still, even though it's a bit unrealistic in the terms of people don't actually do that, but it's still very believable in the context that's being presented of like, there's just so much emotion and so much, you know, either guilt or anger or whatever's going on, that the performance is just delivered so well.
Yeah.
I
mean,
100% agree.
It is some of the best voice work I have ever heard in a video game, and on the same par as the voice work you hear in some of the best acted anime. Like it is incredible voice acting.
Yep. To the point where you can literally say, as Udo's going, I have no idea what he said, but I know what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
That's special. That's truly special. Sound effects.
Okay.
Yeah. There are sounds.
As typical. There are sounds. Weapons typically just have the same sound. There's the pistol shot and the shotgun shot, and it's the same one every time, but it does its job. Fighting and stuff is okay. It's just kind of falls there. Rumor there's improvement. The later ones, they kind of improve on that stuff. The remakes, I kind of just left them in there, I guess, mostly for charm.
Because they're remakes and they want it to feel like the original game still.
Yeah, at least a little bit. It is quite a bit different from the original, but there's now this kind of underlying expectation that come from the Yakuza remakes. And like I said, they serve a purpose. It'd be nice to have, a lot more time and effort that would go into some of that stuff, but it's also fine as it is. It's not going to detract from the experience. There's enough there that complement it.
Hear you slamming a bicycle on top of someone 1,000 times. I didn't use the bicycle slam that often, but once I got the large weapon perk, I did do a lot of beating people with motorcycles. That one I enjoyed.
Imagine just walking out of the bar to go on your motorcycle and some dude just has it picked up and smacking another dude with it. Like, I guess I'm walking home.
Well, he's throwing around my 700-pound motorcycle like it's nothing. I'm going to walk home.
I mean, what are you going to do? Excuse me, sir. I believe that motorcycle you're swinging around is mine. I would like it back now, please.
If it was Kiryu and you went to him and said that, he would probably be like, oh, sorry, here you go.
Probably would. But I'm not going to assume that if I see him swinging a motorcycle around. No. I've given the AI an okay already. Because it doesn't break, it still works. It just isn't anything spectacular.
It's kind of like right in the middle, not really on the high end of okay or the low end of okay. It's serviceable. The fighting wise, they kind of just are there. They'll do their typical beat 'em up thing of they'll wait their turn. They'll kind of just wait for you to stop beating up their friend, and then we'll step in line to get beat up by you. Which is real interesting to see because you can turn that off, I think, in Zero with the collectible baseball card. If you wear that, they just attack you all at the same time, and the game is actually super hard and super frustrating because it's actually kind of a pain. I don't really mind the whole they wait their turn thing. It seems kind of ridiculous, but if they all attack you at once, it turns out it's very hard to fucking deal with. It's a lot of shit, especially when
suddenly they're expecting you to play Doom Eternal in a game that does not have the facilities for it.
Yeah. The combat's designed for like. You lock onto one person and you beat that one person up. Not so much of there's not a whole lot of AoE besides grabbing a motorcycle.
Beast.
Yeah,
Beast is AoE.
You just kind of swing your arms around, but it's not as useful. Like it's more fun to have that kind of focus on one enemy at a time and not have to worry about someone shanking you in the back every 5 seconds. But at the same time, it would be nice to have a bit more fidelity and their attacks that kind of are very predictable, not really any kind of pathing routes, not any kind of approaches, not any kind of flanking or retreating at all or kind of blocking what you're doing. They kind of just let you beat them up, but that's also kind of just the beat 'em up territory. You're supposed to just be stupid strong against stupid enemies, and they just are supposed to let you beat them up.
That's the game's design. The game's core loop, if you're looking at it from the top, is story segment, let the character beat some people up. Story segment, let the character beat some people up. They might as well be dummies that you're just beating up on the street. They don't pose much of a threat. It's just, let's remind them how strong Kiryu is, let them have some fun, some lightheartedness, and then back to the seriousness, and then you feel like going and beating people up after you just watched, your loved ones get killed or something terrible.
Yeah.
Always something terrible. Accessibility.
I actually don't know how this game is for it. They're typically
There's
not
no
always
colorblind.
too great.
And there is color needed. Yep. There is controller rebinding, if I remember. There is at least double inversion.
Ooh, there's no way to turn off the mouse acceleration. So if you're playing with keyboard and mouse, that's going to suck.
Yeah,
well, to be fair, the very, very, very first thing the game says is real Yakuza play with a gamepad. Like it's not designed to be played with keyboard and mouse at all. It is entirely a controller game.
You can remap the controller, which is nice. You've got inversion for both third-person and first-person view. You've got subtitles. You can control the amount of gore. You can switch which button you change styles with, apparently. You can hide the UI. There is an volume slider. There's master volume and background audio.
I hope there's audio settings for music effects, dialogue, cinema, and even and speaker type.
If there is, it's not on PC Gaming Wiki.
Oh, that might be the second one I'm looking at then. It's the second one they fiddled out more for it. Yeah, I think the first one, just has that. So it's bad to okay.
Does not have full closed captions, does have subtitles.
Does not have full... But it doesn't need full closed captions in this game, honestly.
You can mod in DS4 prompts.
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, it didn't work well with the controller, period. I ended up playing on my Xbox controller that I have for those types of emergencies. It doesn't get used often, but gets pulled out.
No colorblind options or anything, but I don't see that really being an issue with a game like this.
Not really.
I'm not too sure how the UI...
Actually, well, it depends on what level of colorblind you are, because whenever the enemies go down and start recovering health, you have to recognize what color the flame is around them and match to the same stance as that color and hit them.
That's generally less of a problem than like a color being next to another and just being unable to tell those colors apart.
This is
if
true.
Somebody was very color deficient, then that could be a problem. But I don't know how else they would indicate that other than having like an icon above the downed AI.
I think having an icon for it might be helpful, but that's okay. But little need of it, save for a few instances on every boss.
Volume sliders would be nice. It has field of view at least, which is surprising.
That's good.
Yeah, volume
I would
sliders.
say it's solidly okay.
Yeah, that as long as that one instance doesn't, because if that one thing bothers you when you're trying to play it, you're not going to be able to make it, because every single boss does that.
Yeah.
Every single major fight, I would say, not even like chapter boss or anything. Like every major fight with a name typically does that. The mechanics are okay.
Yeah, solidly okay. Not the main reason you play these games. They're there and they're fun and they're fine.
Bother you, but it's not.
Honestly, I would say the mini game mechanics are generally better than like the core game loop mechanics.
I think they focused more on the mini games than the core game loop, because there's so many of them and they all are different. They're all pretty well done and decently thought out. And yeah,
like the mini games are solid. As much as I like to shit on the combat for these games, the mini games are actually quite well done.
Yeah, they're definitely not shoehorned in or afterthoughts. At least they do purposely put a lot of these in, which is nice.
Yeah, no, they fully intend you to play the mini games, 100%. Bugs, I think, are good.
The remakes, I don't think I've had too many issues.
There's apparently some weirdness around enabling high resolution textures and fonts. But other than that, there's not really anything listed on PC Gaming Wiki, and you didn't run into anything.
Yeah, but honestly, you don't need the high-res textures and fonts. The way it ships is totally fine, so just play it. It is good. Yes, the bin is getting rather empty. Bin got picked clean. I'm good with this. RNG is good, because there is very little RNG, and what there is, what
outside
is
of
there
the gambling
has
mini
been
games,
gated and based properly.
I think like the main use of RNG, at least that you experience, is just the encounter rate of just people around. And it can feel a bit on the high side, but at least they're avoidable, so they're not always like
you can just
100%.
run and they won't catch you if you really don't want to fight them. Might be in the middle of the street and block you once in a while, but that's very few fights that you're actually going to have to do if you just run most of the time. And control is solidly okay.
more or less what I figured.
more or less.
Speaking of
did
control,
what you wanted it to do. More or less. No, right. I've also got to add here. Let me. Oop, you can. You can just go that way. And the other one was in my list still. Total War Warhammer 3. There we go. Loved Control personally and loved the Surge 2, even if I don't want to go back to it. I played only the very beginning of the Surge 2, and I loved it and stopped and went, I want to play this on stream. And then I have been interested in playing Control for a while, but haven't gotten around to it.
Control's story is, I think, something that you will enjoy quite a lot, Daz.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so final marks. Good writing. Good video. Okay audio. And
if
okay
we could give it
gameplay.
something better than good for writing, we probably would.
Yeah,
Gooder.
it's up there. It's a gooder. Glad they fixed the Surge too. Yeah, big time. I almost finished the Surge.
And 2 just did everything that Surge 1 did, but better.
Yeah, I love the Surge 2's combat a lot. But Surge 1 was just clunky and slow, but I still did 3 or 4. I still did 3 or 4 bosses in the Surge, so that's take it for what you want. All right. Now you guys need to chatter and yammer on mindlessly between the two of you, keeping chat entertained and occupied while I give away some games.
Sorry, I actually just got a phone call. Give me a sec.
So it's literally all on me.
Yep.
Okay, then. Clunky and slow, just like Lords of the Fallen. Yeah, that's what I was saying with regard to Clunky Souls. Lords of the Fallen is, in fact, Clunky Souls. Although the shield dash in that game is quite broken.
Oh, yes. Very. Yeah,
Surge
actually,
1 was fun, significantly better than Lords. I don't know if I'd say significantly better. I definitely enjoyed it more. But I enjoyed the art style for Lords of the Fallen quite a bit more.
the biggest thing for me with the Surge one was the level design. That's what kept me coming back to it. I loved the level design in it.
Yeah, sure wasn't the boss fights.
Luckily, there's only 4 of them in the game. The third one wasn't bad. I didn't mind the third boss. The second one wasn't terrible either. Maybe a little easy once you understood them.
It was very, very just a pile of meh is how I would describe the bosses in that game overall.
I'd say that's accurate.
Lords of the Fallen hurt you. It's so bad to play. It was like running in a dream. Yeah, I can see that. The trick is to use very, very heavy weapons and abuse the running attacks.
I haven't played it, and I still know this. Guess what? We managed to give away all of the games that were meant to be given away.
Have we?
Yep. I mean, not all of the ones in the list to give away, but all of the ones that have been won have been delivered. Makes sense.
Yes, that is a different thing. I was a little concerned because I still have a fair number of games in my humble library.
Yep.
So I was like, oh my, did my script not work?
There's 7 more from you. That is what I show.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We are getting lower, though. We are finally getting lower. We've got
what, a year?
We've got more names in this subscriber list now. Oh my god, it goes for so long now.
Yeah, the 50 gift subs from Mole over the last 2 weeks.
Mole, you maniac. We love you. Lords of the Fallen was actually
Lords
the
of
first
the
game you
Fallen was the
ever
first game.
streamed. I'm sorry.
I mean, we like to poop on it, but it's actually not like a super horrible game. It's just we have very high expectations for things that can be compared to a Souls game.
Yep. You want to enter that arena, you better expect to be judged by that arena's standards. Is that fair?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the insane mole. Oh, yeah,
Well.
there it goes. Yeah,
Thank you for all the gift subs again, Mole.
Those are definitely just random people that are getting gift subs now.
They could potentially be lurkers. I do have lurkers that come and just hang out and watch and don't say anything, so I'm not going to call you out, but if you got a gift sub and you want me to say hi to you, just say so. I just don't want to be calling out people randomly. Yes, insane. Someone did not say gift subs. Just pretend you didn't hear that. I'm glad you made it for the end. Well, how was your D&D session? Where am I in this list? Right there.
I don't actually know how the gifting algorithm works. So I know it goes for like people who are in the chat often first, and then maybe just like people who are followers. And then just I think it's just okay, well, we've run out of these people, so we're just gonna throw subs at people. The bot's already gotten a gift sub.
Yeah,
the bot is subbed.
It starts going into all the people that have popped into chat at some point. Not chat, but the stream, like hung out for 20 minutes, half an hour, watched a bit, stuff like that.
It does not look like the above are followers. Yeah, I thought not. Mole has been extremely generous.
They don't need to be. I'm not telling you you're not allowed to be. You're more than allowed to be. You're allowed to be as generous as you like, but you don't need to be. All you need to do is show up. That's it. As long as you're here, we're happy. Awesome campaign twist from DM and great ideas from players. Excellent. Gotten gift subs to channels I've never been in before. I think it's from like me leaving myself AFK, or maybe leaving yourself AFK on a page, and then he hosts him, and he hosts him, and he hosts him, and you're seen as viewing the page for some time at some point, I think is how they end up on you. But if they're completely out, then they might just throw it at random people saying, hey, come look at this channel, hopefully.
Well, and Twitch still wants your money.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, guys. I gotta go.
Alrighty.
My fence blew over again. I gotta go deal with that.
Oh no.
Guys, I gotta go. My cat's on fire.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. I'll talk to everyone later. Have a good night, everybody.
Have yourself a good one.
See ya.
I'm almost done here. There's just... I really need to make a bot to do this now, don't I?
Yeah. And you've got access to a code base for it too.
Do I?
Yeah. You've got access to that Git repo.
Because I really need to start making some API calls here and sorting this.
I mean, it's not hooked up to the UI yet, but you can still add the functionality.
Yeah. All I need is a console to put it out to. I'm not actually putting every single name in. Only the ones I recognize. Seem fair? I have a really good memory, but I just don't want to have a game end up going to someone that is never, ever, ever going to claim it. Because that makes it a pain in the ass for me.
Ooh, that's pretty brutal.
Found out recently that when you host a channel, those viewers don't get added to the streamer's viewer average unless those viewers refresh the stream. Yep. Well, when you host, they also don't get sent straight there, right? They stay on your page and they view it through yours. So I can understand the algorithm ignoring that. They're not interacting with the audience. They're not likely to contribute. And if they were to try to contribute from the current screen that they're on, they would contribute to you and not that stream. So, yeah.
I guess you got to use the raids rather than the hosts.
I believe raids might not even, I've heard some people say, but I'm not 100% on it, and it doesn't make sense to me, so...
Yeah, I would imagine that raids probably count towards average viewer count, because you are actually moving everybody over to that channel. There is actually a page load involved.
Yeah, that's my interpretation of that situation as well. I'm just going through the last week of cheers and everything. Get all the entrants.
Quite a few.
Yeah, people have been happy. Well, howdy there, DJ Beats. How you doing? We just finished talking about Yakuza Kiwami, but if you want to put in your 2 cents, we're still listening.
Yes.
Desu.
Well, this whole game giveaway thing has been becoming quite a bit more work recently, hasn't it?
It has. I'm just trying to do something nice for people. They're making me do work. There we go. Okay. Got that all sorted out. Oh, maybe I haven't gotten them all yet. I'm still looking for the chain user, and I forgot to put it in the other one. Or did I get that one to them? I don't think I did.
I don't know.
I don't think I did.
Chain user is in our Discord now, though.
Then I must have given it to them, and I just didn't take it off this list. Because I would have had it in the other list, which is the official list. This is like the unofficial jot it down moment list. Being charitable was easy. Everyone would do it. Big disagree.
Maybe more people would. But not everybody.
All right. I expected this name to show up. I'm glad it was for the first one. I am Darth Mole. You may have earned yourself a game at this point.
Nobody is surprised.
Gentleman Dapper again. The list seems to like you. We'll do a few. We got more games still. Aspect again. Zelo. Nice to see you again yesterday. One more?
Yeah. It was fun to play some video games. You won a video game, Mole. We don't know which one yet, but you did win a video game.
And Snow, who also did her fair share of cheering. Cheering and gifting. Now we find out what terrible game we're giving away. They're usually pretty good. You might want to re-gift this one, Mole. I know you. It might not be your bag, but I'm laughing because we happen to just be talking about it.
Yeah, that's... try it out. Try it out if you don't know.
I mean, it's free, but Yeah, have you ever? It's pretty difficult, and you know it's got that Soulsy, you died, you lost everything aspect to it. Aspect, a copy of Re-Legion. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what Jalopy is either.
Re-Legion. Well, Jalopy sounds fairly self-explanatory, but let's see what Re-Legion is.
Oh, there's a good one. Project Cars 2 for Zelo. Project Cars 2 was well done.
Re-Legion is pretty.
Is it?
A cyberpunk-styled RTS.
Is Snow Penguin 1 a good snowman is hard to build before?
Maybe. Ooh, Project Cars 2. Hopefully Zelo likes racing sims, because the first two Project Cars games were very stimulator.
Well, hopefully. But there are some games that I'll be making sure to get distributed tomorrow. Tomorrow is when you should expect to hear about them. That's my day to do it. I'm gonna go.
A good snowman is hard to build. Is adorable.
It is. It's this cute little puzzle game where you have to push the ball around in the right order to pick up all the snow and make your snowman parts and everything. We'll see if Rage is available. I don't think I have anything else to do. I'm down to do some streaming.
Yeah, I may be available. Do need to go get some food. Do need to take care of a couple of the things. Might be available later on.
Well, do let me know. Maybe we can get Parsec going and start some stubs. I can order some beers.
May have to.
Alrighty. We'll figure something out. Until then, so nice to see you all. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you enjoyed the game chats. I'm Deus.
And I'm Rage.
And he used to be Pseudo. And may all your shots be headshots.